Hello, fellow pipers and chipmunks. Piper and Piper here with little Zoe. Yeah, she definitely knows how to react to a camera. So this is the first video I've done like this in I think a couple weeks. Things were very busy during that time. A lot of things with work. Finally catching up with some long overdue orientation over a year after starting at my job. Meetings that were scheduled, things I had to do around the house, the usual spring projects, getting the garden started, which it is now early May, and I've already put tomatoes out, green pepper plants, well, not green peppers, chocolate bell peppers. It's an heirloom I found a couple years ago, but I think I started 24 of those, but about a third is at my girlfriend's house, and the rest I'm planning to plant at my house, even though it looks like I will be acquiring roommates soon. But I am not opposed to other people I know partaking in the fruits of my gardening. It's really the reason I do it. For a while I tried doing a small farmer's market, gardener's market, if you will. I was actually selling some produce at my old job, and it was, I wouldn't say popular. I mean, most of the time I did sell out of whatever I brought to work, and I did make some money on it. I mean, we're not talking about thousands of dollars, but whatever labor I put into it, I feel like I recouped. But not doing that this year. New job, and I don't know how that would go over at this new place. But I'm also, between the two houses, I'm not trying to plant a garden that would take a lot of effort, a lot of manual labor. So really, I'm just gonna put the plants in the ground, weed here and there, and hopefully have some fruit and vegetables to pick when the time comes. A lot of small projects in my near future. I have some things to do at the house that I need to finish up, projects that are long overdue, before these people move in, and it's not even a done deal. So I could just be doing this stuff for my own benefit, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but at least it gives me the motivation to do this. So I noticed this the other day. We have these old pine trees that have been at this park most likely from when these pathways and the park itself was first created. And even though the trees look relatively healthy, it looks like they're scheduled to be taken down. The city has acquired some money, and part of the deal with the people who are donating this large sum is that they beautify the parks, especially downtown at Bronson Park. But this is Crane Park, and it looks like part of the plan is that these pine trees come down. Some of these, I believe, they just need some upkeep. Like, okay, these aren't looking that healthy, but really, it's looking like they might have just needed some training, some trimming. I doubt the soil has been kept at a healthy state. These trees, they're not bushes, but these small trees over here along that trail look like those are going to come down. Meanwhile, we have this dead thing in the middle here without an X. A few more small trees that are dead. And I'm not certain as to why those trees aren't doing good, and like these pine trees, these are doing fairly well. So, again, I have not done anything for my podcast. I had a few things that I wanted to write for the blog, which hasn't been done yet. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep up with the podcast at all at this point. It was an idea that I had, and with doing the research for it and constantly learning more about climate change, it became very depressing, and in hindsight, wasn't really good for me mentally. So, yeah, this is some more of the garden. This is actually a really cool park. Another pine tree that's going to be cut down. It's kind of sad. Another one over here. And again, I'm not sure why they're doing that. I don't know, maybe they've just outgrown what their purpose was. It's kind of sad. I've been to one wedding that happened up here. And of course a divorce that followed. Especially in this state. I wonder if Michigan has a higher divorce rate than other states due to the economics of our system. This is a really cool tree. I'm really hoping I don't see a red X on this. And, nope, it's safe. So in hindsight, I'm glad that I didn't pay for the SoundCloud membership, and I almost used up all my minutes for the starting something new, and I got a lot of episodes out of it. I mean, they're only 10-15 minutes a piece, but yeah, I'm thinking that podcasting is just not my thing. So hopefully that's a lesson for me to keep keep that in mind the next time I think that it's a good idea to start a podcast. That was my third attempt at doing one. And unlike writing books, blogging, which blogging you can really kind of come and go as you please. I know there's a lot of people that treat it like podcasting, where they have a new article once a week or 3 times a week. They try to keep a schedule and keep it going, and that's not really how I want to do something like that, especially with how my life has been as of lately. This year, 2 funerals, dealing with the aftermath when it comes to the estate, taking care of property debts, all the things you just don't think about that come up with things like that. So this is something else I found that's really cool about this park. Somebody put the time and labor into making, I believe this is like a little BMX bike trail that they put in all the way down at the bottom. There's also a ramp that was made from some fallen limbs and dirt piled on top of it. I have seen bike tracks in here. I'm not really opposed to anybody doing something like this. And there's a bike track right there. It's fairly new, at least a day or two old, the way that's dried on top. If people want to use this unkept portion of the park and keep these trails clean and keep the maintenance up on it, I think it's a pretty cool idea. We have been adding skateboard parks and other places like that to the area. They're trying to keep the kids out of downtown. They posted signs that say no bikes or skateboards, rollerblades allowed on the mall. They still do it at night, usually after a lot of the places are closed. I think it's almost like an unspoken agreement now that as long as it's not highly populated and businesses aren't going to be affected, then let them do their thing. It's not really a subculture anymore, which is kind of cool. So, some goals that I have for this summer. I only went fishing once last year, and it really pissed me off, because before that I was going almost once a week. And I have a friend of mine who's a big fly fisherman. We kind of went back and forth between pan fishing and fly fishing, and he grew up fly fishing, which also meant that I was labeled as a fake fisherman, a worm drowner, whatever you want to call it. And I thought it was kind of cool that he was using fake lures to get fish, and he was saying that I was pulling a lot of bluegill and crappie out of the lakes by using worms. So we kind of went back and forth, and I did find a couple of fly rods at some antique markets, and I now have a complete Shakespeare rod and reel that I want to use for the first time. Still need to buy flies for it, but that's my goal. I at least want to go, I'm setting my goal low. I want to go at least twice And if I go twice, at least I'll feel good about getting out and doing it. I do have a second rod and reel just in case something goes wrong with the first one. It's not a Shakespeare, and I'm not fairly certain as to what brand it is. I'm not really interested in getting anything new, investing a lot of money into something I'm not practiced at doing. So when I come across something, and I got the Shakespeare rod for I think $5, and there was a second rod that I got. I already had the reel. I had the Shakespeare reel, but it was on some off-brand rod. And then I found the Shakespeare rod for $5, so I switched that reel onto that rod, made it complete. And then the other no-name rod, I put there's a second reel that I found for $5 that I was actually going to use as a fish trap, where you hang the line down into the water with bait. You attach the reel to a tree branch, and when the fish bite on it, it pulls them up into the air, and you just go back and collect your fish. It's one of those tricks I learned about a couple years back, but I don't really feel safe leaving my stuff at some park. Odds are that somebody's just going to go ahead and take it. So yeah, I've got 2 rods, no flies. Want to get out to a couple of the lakes, try it out. Even if I don't bring any fish home, at least I'm out relaxing, getting some sun. Odds are spending time with the little one. Right, Zoe? You know when that camera's on you. So that's my goal this year. Also looking to get away from the whole typewriter business. Not planning on getting rid of all my typewriters. Odds are I'll be keeping whatever's left over. Haven't been moving any as of lately. I did sell one this last month, and that's it. So if that trend keeps up, then I'm going to be closing the booth and just keeping whatever I have left over, storing those away, and then over the years, if I come across anybody who's interested in buying one, then I'll just sell to them directly. It's kind of sad. I do seem to have some type of following at the antique booth. I guess I have people that come in looking to see if there's any more ribbon that's come in, or typewriting paper that I've been supplying. Checking out whatever new typewriters are there, but it hasn't been very lucrative, and I'd rather just take the money from the rent and throw it in an account for Zoe and just go about it that way. Save some time for myself, maybe do some writing in the meantime, which is what I really want to do. Priorities. So that's what's going on with me. Got the pipe back out, as you probably noticed. The weather's been nice. I've been able to get out on the porch when Zoe's taking a nap. Trying out some new stuff, and I've been posting some reviews, so check those out. And we're gonna head back to the house, so I'll leave you with that. In the meantime, take care of yourselves.